Don't worry, it is a new setup, very temporary, because I've got this new gimmick I'm going to show you tonight. When we look at some rocks, I experimented with it. It shows them really well. I don't have anything written down, so I want to say welcome everybody to Mud Flood. It was Armageddon. The Mud Flood was the Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they're willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. Hey, Luther, I got some of that, what was it? Gold, molecular gold. It's like colloidal silver, because I'm always talking about colloidal silver. And I was saying to Luther, yeah, I don't know. I've heard some that it's too strong, but I'm giving it a whirl. Good thing, because I crashed the mini bike, the electric bike again. There you go. Good morning. It's evening here, but you know that. Monatomic. Would you call me? So I'm gonna tease it. I'm gonna show you. I'm not gonna show the stones until the end because I want you guys to stick around in some of the glass, but look at this way. I think it's gonna work. That's why I don't have the screen. I'm gonna put the screensaver back on for most of the show. Okay. Get up here. Why did my microphone get turned off? But and then there's this one. When I did the experiment, the doggone thing didn't tip on the light. Let me try it like this. Be a little patient here because this is going to be cool. All right. Now, this is glass. That's what they'd say is that slag glass. But it has too many things that, fingerprints, everything on it looked like a body part. But the other side, you can see it has holes that go all the way through it. Like I said, I don't want to get into everything now. I got a Bible study and some history. But, we got and then there's this, a staple. Looks like a staple. That's metal. And it looks like it's part of a staple. And you can see it's breakpoints. Doggone. This is harder than you think when you're just learning. You can see how the laser goes through different parts. And, sometimes it goes through to other areas. But again, it's probably, this is probably part of an eyeball, is right. It's just like that aqueous humor, it's water. And this is the muscle that, you know, covers the eye and makes it move. These things are real. These are the stones that are crying out. Another glass one. I guess I am just into this. I think I've been saying that's blood for 7 years. This one you can see the fingerprints and stuff a little bit more. I'll get some better pictures. But I know where these are. I know where I found them. I know that, like, you know, what Roger Spur did, if I could ever get anybody to test that, that's blood. I think that this is the part. Let me get this back up here and get things somewhat, if you could ever call it, back to normal from a normal school perspective. But we'll look at some more of those things later. But I do have a lot of things about venting, you know, getting hurt. That hurt, but it wasn't anything like the pain of last year's big deal. Now that hurt. You guys want to go and pretend we're on the space station? Or, nah, we're on the brain. That's my go-to thing. I've been showing the map. Well, I got a couple of things here. Got to show that. Now look at this. I told you maybe okay. What's this? This is the new digital camera I got. I took some pictures. That cloud picture didn't turn out at all. That was it looked weird in sunglasses. So I thought I'd show you my apartment. And it's just, you know, I get a better picture here in a minute, but I am set up to do the experiments. I got everything I need. I'm not hungry. Outside is not that messy. These rocks, look at that. This is a clean, this is metal. And this is part of the rock that I got it from. Broke it off, and it's that. And I'm thinking you can start to see, when I get this one done, more of a helical heart. This is to keep the acid and things hot while, you know, if there's any fumes involved. There's some of my artwork that I've done recently. This one doesn't show up. Now this is labradorite. In the sun, this reflects like a Mayan mask. Yeah, not a good picture. Some of you guys have seen that one before. I thought you guys want to see my house. It's not as bad as you think. It's cluttered, but not moldy. So I'm still waiting to give this away to somebody, but it wobbles. So I want to get it fixed up. There's a nice saw, chainsaw, chop saw, 14-inch diamond blade. There's the best, keen. That's not wasted money if you have to spend some. You remember I came here? When was that? I did like 2 years of school, and I got here some months before with 2 rolling suitcases. You remember that? Let's look at the other pictures I downloaded that are on topic for today. Why are these still showing up? Oh, I got to go back to the thing. So I'm hurt. Not as bad as it looked. Now, this is right after the accident. I got home and I'm like, I was praising the Lord that it wasn't like last year. That was bad. So the crisp map. This is, oh no, the phone's ringing. Luther, is my thing not working?
You're not sharing.
Doggone it. I didn't show you any of the pictures of the apartment.
No.
Well, you dozen people that are still here, thank you. And thank you specifically. You guys that called, that's awesome. Yay! It certainly is a hard time for me. You know what? I did all the right clicking, except when I was getting the pictures and everything ready and the new experiment to show the stones, I didn't get to share screen. So I didn't even share the disclaimer. Take two disclaimers, disclaimed. I go to here. I went to here. Here's I got a new thing. That was supposed to be the picture of the reflective thing. Better picture coming. You can't see anything. Here we got, oh no, hazardous materials. Muriatic acid. Look at it. I'm getting this. I tried to melt glass last night to try to match, what they say is melted glass. It's not. I don't use this stuff. I don't put down pesticides and stuff. This is a weak form of nitric acid. And it's like what they kill, what do they kill the rats with? It's fluoride. It works on the same principle. Look at that. Keen sandals from a long time ago. We'll clean those up. I looked them up on eBay. They're worth $80. This is my kitchen. I messed it up to show you. Outside, the rocks in progress. Here's where I put my thing to break the gold. It just keeps pounding down. This is the metal that was part of this rock. Heat to keep the heat going. I want to do something with this one here. Back in the house, my artwork. Just some of the things I turned in. This is the one that in the sunlight, labradorite is something. You can't even tell it's a face. It's got a whole nose and everything. It looks flat. It's not 2D. Neither. This is cast aluminum. It's supposed to be look Thracian. This is pretty good. This is a stone. One side is flesh and the other side is the spirit, I guess. This pottery, how hard is it to make Van Gogh? I made a Van Gogh. My bookshelf. This thing here is a drying rack. What's all this stuff? Shoes. Inner tubes. You have to, if you're going to ride a bike around here, you better get good at changing tires. This is a tub I use for, the one, I don't see it. I have a machine that fits in there to polish rocks. And these are some of the clothes. Sergio gave me a couple of those jackets. Remember, I came here with 2 rolling suitcases, these 2. and a backpack. And so guess what? The people here in this town, they're not surprised if I walked around with scabs on my face. When I show what's going on, 12 people were in when I got the call that it's there. So I started showing it and it's down to 6, 7. You'll never get me to think that anybody has these algorithm things figured out. Crack me with a thorn bush. Yeah, the rock thing, that's going to be good. I gotta, it's true. Everything is true. Everything we hold dear. And it's not wrong to push back against preterism, postmillennialist, because the person that first said, hey, it's a flat earth nation and the golden age is past, could be mud flood was Armageddon. That guy, me, I was preterist and postmillennial for 35 years, since 1986 until, wow, yeah, I took some mushrooms and it clicked. We've been reading Revelation wrong. Mud flood was Armageddon. I started the website. Everyone else is faking. I've documented it. Am I growing, forgive me, Father, impatient of despising not the day of small beginnings? Because I remember before I was canceled for no reason, the stupid, bad medical advice they said that I was doing. It was stupid. I never, ivermectin. You can say it now and not get banned. 5,000 videos that prove it right now. It's just been 4 years of me being banned and those guys going like, oh, I think I remember Alan doing that. Everything. Yeah, I'm pissed too. It's a little bit like, where were we? I'm getting a little bit.
One of the most remarkable and mysterious migrations in the natural world is happening right now from Mexico to the United States. Tens of millions of monarch butterflies are on an epic aerial journey home. They've spent the winter hanging out in trees in a forest on a remote mountain in Mexico, resting up after flying all the way from Canada in the northern US where they were born. It's believed monarchs have been making this journey for thousands of years, but there's a lot fewer of them than there used to be. Of the nonprofit World Wildlife Fund in Mexico.
Sure, they're going to fix it.
Cup them in.
Oh my goodness, are you cold, Mr. Vanderbilt?
The air is filled with them.
This is extraordinary. This is it. This is what it's all about. This is nature knows when to put on a show, huh? And how to put on a show.
And
it's this super generation.
You know how they pick monarchs? It truly is fascinating, but this is, it's not a little bit of a conspiracy. It's not a little bit of, yeah, and what I hold dear, and I'm so glad I can understand the Bible now, but I don't, my rapture is so important. I don't want to think it's 21 years and it's going to be a nightmare, a judgment on the world that we want to try to avoid. No, that's boring. I'm going to watch some other guys talk about Nephilim.
Born in Canada and east of the Rockies in the northern United States that flies to Mexico. Hundreds of millions of them join up on a journey of some 3,000 miles, which can take them 3 months or longer. To help them find their way, monarchs have circadian clocks in their antennae.
And who knows if your eyelashes could work like that? If we got in tune with the spirit, we're all like them. We've got to go somewhere. They're hearing a voice. We're hearing a voice. It's Jesus that is doing this.
To lay their
Every little
eggs.
thing.
They'll die before they can make it back to where they were born, and their offspring might not live long enough to get there either. But
So support the World Wildlife Fund. Wasn't I showing pictures? Am I even still sharing? Hi, everybody. I just cried in case anybody knows. Like, I had 12 people that were watching me stumble and mess up when Luther called and I got it corrected. Half of them left. Here's those pictures we started with. Just a little scrapage. Hey, I'm not doing this to show off to town people. Nobody's even there most of the time. I'm doing it because I need to learn how to ride these e-bikes and mini bikes and dirt bikes because we're going to be living in the mountains. And we're running for our lives out of the city. It did hurt, but not like last year. So I was going to show this one when Luther called. The crisp map. Now look here, see where my mouse is? They finally figured it out. It was 1711. Who's been saying it all along? It's part of the original. The original. You can ask Doug, you can ask RJ, you can ask people that have been here a while. It's always been 1711. We're working off the 911. And blessed are those who make the last 45. So what? This is a special turtle. This is one of those things. This is endangered, okay? This thing could die. Well, I mean, it could go the way of the dodo bird. Or, I did take some time out to brush up and some of my anatomy got caught up. But look at this guy. They made it with the, so that you can try to remember all of the nerves that are in the body or your brain. So, there's a 1, and then there's 2 eyeballs. So that's 2. And then they put the 3s for the eyebrows. Now the 4 is somewhere. Oh, there it is. They mirror each other. There's 4 and 6 mirrored inside a big 5. The 7s, because they have to do mirroring because it's on each side of the brain. There's 64. There's paired tubes and stuff. And then they make a tongue face out of it. I thought it was good because it's how you remember all of these things. And here's where the 12 cranial nerves, and remember, they're doubled. They're doubled because there's 12 on each side. That throws people sometimes. I never knew. Have you ever heard this blogger reveal that Jeff Gannon had previously worked as a $200 an hour gay prostitute? Wow. And he wrote that John Kerry might someday be known as the first gay president. Well, the Skull and Crossbones chose George. His daddy was one of these guys. His daddy was there and watched him do his thing on their initiation. You know what they have to watch him do on the initiation? His dad said, I want to be there. He did. These guys. So everybody thinks it's tough. They've had a rough life. These things are real. They kidnap these people. And then they sell them. They drive them around, fly them around, and sell them. They think that Jeff Gannon was that $200 an hour prostitute that after a few years, he just never went home. Maybe, you know, some of the other kids didn't make it, but that's what they're saying. And it went back to this thing we were studying last week. Yikes. You know, they don't have the money. There's a backlog of authorized projects waiting for appropriation funding over $6 billion. Navigation backlog $2.7 billion annually for maintenance work. They're not even trying to fix things in the United States. The people in North Carolina, I mean, they fixed the road, it didn't work. Kites pulling cars. This is a fanciful dream that would never work. Oh, wait, it does work. That's right. They do it with boats in the desert for sports for rich people, but that's all. This seems interesting. Dissonance. Music is an alteration of discord. Something about this song they say it's Bach, not that Bach, this Bach. I know you're thinking, I remember Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger got into an argument, and they said, I want to make a movie, and they were going to make it about badass composers, but try to put it in real life. And Stallone said, okay, I want to be Chopin. And Schwarzenegger said, I'll be Bach. Is that a good one? Was that one? Because I laughed when I first heard that. I thought it was funny. This guy did this by himself. Wow, way to go, dude. This is not the guy that did that. The other guy, I'm going to go with the racial stereotyping and saying, I'm believing that he was Hindu. And, you know, the people that are laughing right now that because there's a judgment, and we are warned about that in Obadiah, you know, when the day of, you know, when judgment starts, and it's starting. And, you know, we shouldn't laugh at the other countries because, you know, there's only, you're only king of the hill for so long. This is that word that, you know, people feel in German. It's the only German word that says, I like it when you fail. Nobody else made a word for it. The Revolutionary War did not actually end officially even after the surrender at Yorktown. 10 uncomfortable truths. Many of the most famous revolutionary heroes are embellished or simply did not exist at all. Well, way to go. They're catching up with what you guys have known for a long time. Americans consider the founders Christian, but many were deists or Masons. Vlogging through history had a good point there. Revolutionary War was basically a proxy war between France and Great Britain over supposedly who's going to be the correct worshipers of the Trinity, Calvinism or Catholicism, Protestantism or Mary. The girls don't sing about promising you a marriage anymore, do they? The word Debir, look at King James again. It means sanctuary, inner sanctuary, and of the oracle, but it means inner. It means inner. And again, KJV with the oracle. Can you think of another translation? The only translation that would call Holy Spirit ghost, that's a term from the alchemists in the 1600, Reiki spirit things. Huh. So that intersection of the wall, 45, it's an offering. Present them an offering when you go to that inner. So I guess I was looking at words that had this in it. Silver, gold, purge. Christ is a purifier. He's going to purify us like they, the coppersmiths, the goldsmiths, the silversmiths that they talk about in the Bible. And oh my goodness, now that I know what a production it is to smelt and that it can just explode if you heat it up too fast. Trust me, it's happened like 3 times. It's 5 years, but different types, like the yellow can gas, when they say it burns hotter. No kidding, it burns hotter. A lot hotter. So he's going to purify us as a refiner. He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and he will purify the sons of Levi and refine them like gold and silver. Oh man, some of you better start worrying oh my goodness, like wrecking on my mini bike reminds me, I should tell you guys that when you second year in a row, it's not like a video game where you're pushing the button and, oh no, I fell off my bike. It hurts. It hurts sometimes for a long time. And that's like all of this, like, oh, I'm a street fighting man. I got in a fight. And you paid for it for weeks because your fists weren't made for punching. You don't know that because all of your experience is online. This is all about one thing. There is the Bible, not any of those other books. And God talks about it. Yeah, he meant that we know there's 15 other volumes mentioned in scripture that sound like they're volumes after volumes. The kings of the north and Israel, just the kings had their own volumes on them. But we have a line upon line thing, and it's described right here in Malachi 3:16. Then those who feared the Lord spoke with one another. The Lord paid attention to them and heard them. A book of remembrance was written before him of those who feared the Lord and esteemed his name, singular and everything else, because nobody thought that the mystery that was revealed in the New Testament was there's a Trinity. No, because it's pretty obvious. What? There's a light to the Gentiles. It was Jesus? And how few of those people were there that made it? The Lord heard them. They spoke to one another. There was a small group that rightly divided the truth, and the Lord blessed. And because of that, people made it in Armageddon. I mean, we're still going to get encompassed about. We're still going to get Satan's loose. He's coming after you. So the Holy Spirit thing, this part here is from yesterday. I'm looking up the words hagios, like the Hagia Sophia. It's the holy place. The Hagia Sophia is the holy wisdom. That's what they call it, Church of Holy Wisdom. But hagios is how you get baptized with it. Well, took him into the holy city. There we go. You know, I can't tell you how much this bothers me that they say ghost. So you got that. Hebrews 10:19. Let's see what it says. Therefore, brothers, since we have confidence to enter the holy places by the blood of the Lamb, who's going to purify us like silver and gold. Even he's like all those who are going to mine are going to suffer for my name's sake. And you better be ready. You're going to be separated for your name, for his name's sake. Absolute purity. That's what Christ did. That's not what he's expecting from you, but he wants you to try to keep yourself pure. Everyone who has this hope in them, you know, try to keep yourself pure, blameless. So we're looking at a particular word here or what? Okay. Hagnos. Oh, that's kind of like hagios. Keep yourself innocent. There's pure virgins, chaste. Whatsoever things are pure. And, you know, I get it. There's a sin not unto death. You can do anything, it's not lawful. We all reap what we sow. I'm sure getting smacked in the face has something to do with like, wake up, Paco, you're not even trying. You know, it's like, oh, I'm going to try better. Huh. Well, that was that. So Michael Servetus again. Was this the reset to make it seem it's what I fell for, like the globe? As long as you believe in the Trinity, you could be a Catholic or a Protestant. Everything else is like they just wanted to kill this guy. And I think everybody else now, you'll hear other people, oh, I don't believe in the Trinity. They've all have baggage, big time baggage. And they put Michael Servetus out there because he's the astronomer, the meteorologist, he draws maps of the world, maps of the body. He discovered how the lungs work, they say. Yeah, I talked about that the other day. But I show Geneva enough that it's a star fort and that it was always said, yeah, she's still the royalty there. It's in Switzerland. This is their history, you know? Their royalties. I guess she's from there. It's the capital of the Republic of Geneva. Huh. Less than 250,000, not even close, just over 200,000, 6 square miles. Okay. That's what they lived in. We know that the 1500s, they found it. This is all a rewrite. So I had that one pulled up. So the Republic, very well documented of how they found it. And then Starport, baby, say it with me. Say it loud, say it proud. They found these maps and said, we did it. Sound familiar? They're going to be judged also.
Where yet again, no architect is named that planned this out and got it all done in a year, where they just chalked it up to the U.S. Army. Right. And the exact total length of the entire tunnel system is, of course, not.
There will be no end to mysteries. Now, I don't know if I guess there are fault lines. Now, I'm just not sure they're gates. I mean, everything, the world has been terraformed. I do know that when he started and when the mud flood thing is, there was no room for ends at 8:38, 4 minutes of coffee and thanking the people that pay him to do a once a week thing, because he's not Christian.
And
he's
nobody
just-
can figure out who built them.
There's
No
fun-
named
this is
architects.
interesting.
They just had some great
It's a
teamwork
thing.
in the
It's a
1940s.
worldwide thing.
No,
It's
when these
not a narrow road,
are, as we've
that's
shown,
for sure.
all strategic locations. They are strategic
It is
tunnel
a narrow road
entrances
thing,
that were
but
difficult to access
more
and
narrow
were
right
constructed
now. He's getting
before
filled up.
the roads on the island. We all know
Yeah.
megawatt independent power plant. This
Yeah.
moving into these underground heat zones. Thank all of our badge
Oh, we
members.
still got more. So I looked up, some point when I did it, when did I get that new computer? Was I still at the Warrior recovering from the ankle thing? Boy, did I mess this up. The first 10 minutes were terrible.
I misspelled neutral. Where's the picture of him as a girl? Oh, 2 years old. It was 1884. Bad.
See, it was that audio. So that's FDR breaching.
It says a young, unbreached Roosevelt. Breaching boys.
They
It
wrote
was
it
an
down.
occasion when they first dressed in breeches or trousers. From the mid 1500s
And
until
I do think, sorry for the frequent interruptions, but I do think that was the choose your identity, their form of it, because we saw so many of the famous abolitionists and the suffragettes that were obviously men that just decided in breaching, ain't no way I'm going to stop being a girl. And they had a group of people that would said, good for you.
the early 1900s, young boys in the Western world were unbreached or wore gowns or dresses until an age that varied between 2 and 8. Weareth not that pertaineth to a woman. What?
Huh. What else did I talk about?
With women and were consumed with passion for one another, men committing
Oh, I'm showing the
shameless
box
acts
that I
with men
had.
and receiving in themselves the due penalty for their error. And since they did not see fit to acknowledge God, God gave them up to a debased mind to do what ought not to be done.
Blue is a very
They were filled with all manner of
in nature.
unrighteousness, evil, covetousness, malice. They are
Okay.
full
You're doing
of
some Bible
envy,
study here.
murder, strife, deceit, maliciousness. They are gossips, slanderers, haters of God,
Yikes.
insolent.
So do you think that, all of a sudden there's a fire in Maui? And I've shown Tracy and Shane on this show. They wrote a book, the chemtrails and everything else. Is she going to dip her toe into the, hey, it's a way to get, she should look at the mud flood.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tracy Derwin. Thank you so much for joining me today. In today's video, I have a couple of clips of Catherine Fitz. Now, I featured her in a previous video. She has some very, jaw-dropping comments that she made on the Danny Jones interview that she did not too long ago. And
artificial intelligence which is operating demonic intelligence.
Interdimensional
Intelligence.
demonic intelligence.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think this thing about good and evil is real. And I can't find it anymore. I found it once. There were in the 30s, a British physicist got up and said, we are being manipulated, but from other dimensions by intelligent beings from other dimensions. So
how far behind can Atlantis be?
That even just like 3 or 4 years ago, I probably would have thought.
Yeah, there may have been some islands. That 1/3 of the islands got washed away. Some of the mountains washed away. 1/3 of the animals washed away. And then they had the golden age, ruled with the rod of iron, because the wheat were present with tares, terrorizing. Should have been expected. If you weren't expecting it.
of a group of military intelligence in the United States called the Collins Elite.
Oh yeah, I've heard about the Collins
Yeah.
Elite. Yeah.
And they came to believe that
And they bred people, and they used Nephilim, and they were maybe from another planet, maybe not. Seems
But,
like God.
let me make it simple. The universe is alive and intelligent,
Sure.
and we share intelligence with all life.
Mm.
So in the Lord of the
Nothing original. Same old BS from Planet or the Gold of the Gods by Eric von Daniken. I read that in the 70s when it came out, because Chariots of the God really got my attention. The Gold of the Gods got my attention even more. Did I look at this the other day? Dormancy. Metabolic activity just stops. Organisms can synchronize entry into a dormant phase. Some can. I don't think we can. We might wish we could. The hibernation's a form, mechanism used by many animals to reduce energy expenditures, build up psychological changes. But there's also this. A predictive strategy that is predetermined by the animal's genotype. Oh. Diapause is common in insects, allowing them to suspend development. Mammals, such as the roe deer, the only ungulate with embryonic dispose, in which delay in attachment of the embryo and the uterine lining ensures that offspring are born in spring when conditions will be most favorable. Thank you, Father. There's another one, aestivation, garden snails, worms. I'm sleepy. Brumation. I think that's what that turtle does. Seeds can do it. They don't have a problem doing it. A seed, it won't live unless it dies, right? Something like that. Dormancy, bacteria, viruses, herpes viruses, for example, can become latent after infecting the host. After years, they can activate again under stress or exposed to ultraviolet radiation. I hope they don't put people under stress and keep messing with the sky. Jeff Gannon. Questions asked at press conference by the closeted gay guy until he was exposed. Since there have been so many questions about what the president was doing over 30 years, what is it he did after his honorable discharge from the National Guard? Did he make speeches alongside Jane Fonda denouncing America's racist war in Vietnam? Did he testify before Congress that American troops committed war crimes in Vietnam? Did he throw somebody else's medals at the White House to protest a war he was willing to fight? What was he doing after his honorable discharge? Talking about like George Bush was, ready to go to war. So Jeff Gannon, is he Johnny Gosh? Some weird things going on there. He was given credentials as a White House reporter. That'd be Jeff Gannon. He was eventually employed by a conservative website during the latter part of this period. Gannon first gained national attention during a presidential press conference, January 26th, newly elected, when he, or sworn in, he asked the president, George, a question that some of the press corps considered so friendly that it might have been planted. The question was, how are you going to work with Senate Democrat leaders who seem to have divorced themselves from reality? That's one way to get on the good side of W. Here's some, the sexual scandals, it's going to happen. They use it for blackmail, starting in, Hamilton. Secretary Treasurer Hamilton had an affair with Maria Reynolds. They were both married. She's sorry. Hamilton made a public apology. Jefferson, Jackson. I get the feeling they couldn't put them all in here because that seems to be the great motivating factor for much of the world. Here's the guy that made a kite-drawn buggy, but nobody thought it was any good. Patented design, 2 kites on a single line. So sailing is like riding on the wind, but I was hoping maybe they would have try that. Nope, that didn't help. Land sailing. Wonder if it works.
Slingshot time. 20 knots. 205. That's the boost there.
So that's a wind, huh?
222.5.
That's a lot of kilometers. The world record, yeah. Oh, that's it. The left ventricle. That's part of the heart. No, I had a couple that it showed it. Forget it. So here was this, I think we looked at this. This is quite the picture, huh? see it big. So this was the world back then when they supposedly ended slavery, or did they really end slavery? They celebrated it like they did. They must have had some uniforms, and everybody was convinced it was going to be great. Let's see, 20,000 spectators. The 15th Amendment was the last of the three Reconstruction Amendments. 4 young black women wearing crowns, followed by zouave drummers, 2 rows of black Freemasons. So there you go, sashes and carrying banners, soldiers in red jackets, a rigged ship. Where's the ship? Must be a float. Oh, there it is. It's a float. All right. So the 15th Amendment prohibits racial discrimination in voting and was ratified in 1870, part of the Reconstruction Amendments. All right. But apparently it's not as, here's the deal. With the Emancipation Proclamation, they said, we're freeing the slaves in all the territories that we take over. But there were 3 states in the North, like Delaware, that still had slaves. And so they didn't have to, so it didn't work. It didn't free anybody. They didn't give up any slaves and stuff like that. That should have been closed out. I should have something to back that up. By 1869, amendments had been passed to abolish slavery and provide citizenship. Well, the war ended in April. Well, Lincoln was assassinated in April, a couple months after his reelection. And so why are they still doing this 4 years later? Did the Jim Crow laws from 1990 to 1910, 33 Republicans voted to approve, 144. So the 15th Amendment is not the Emancipation Proclamation, because the full population of freed slaves would be now counted rather than the 3/5 mandated in the previous one. Okay, so there you go. The first one that ever voted got his patched pants, but he has a suit, and he's ready to vote. Sure, that's the way it all happened. Excuse me. Where'd that come from? How recent was everything changed? Not that long ago. What's this? Can you believe that somebody thought there could be an ancient planet? It's a hypothesized, like dark matter. Dark matter, 97% of our, what they call universe, is made up of dark matter. We can't smell it, taste it, touch it, see it, or have it explained to us mathematically, but it makes the globe work. It makes physics work. It makes you fear atomic weapons. Thea is another one of those type of situations. It's made up 5-minute article. See, that's the problem why people don't listen to Wikipedia. They think that takes 5 minutes to read. Hypothesized ancient planet in the early solar system. The world believes this. Collided with the Earth. Boom. Boom. The artist's concept shows a celestial body about the size of our moon slamming at great speed into a body the size of Mercury. NASA's Spitzer Space Telescope found evidence that a high-speed collision of this sort occurred a few thousand years ago around a young star. That star's, don't worry about it, 100,000 light years from the United States. Oh, I have to do, I just got a message from the VA. I forgot to do something. I didn't remember it until I was eating my watermelon. Man, they are in season good right now. So it's hypothesized they need it somehow. From the beginning, there's 4 hypotheses, except, you know, the rock samples, those are, oh yeah, the world is going to believe about anything. Watch, I'll search it, and there'll be people that are acting like it's real.
It was 100 million years into the Hadean Eon, in the early fiery days of planet Earth, when continents were our moon into existence, even if that particular birth was an incredibly violent one. But although we don't know much about Theia, we do know at least some things. This would have been a planet considerably smaller than ours, closer to the size of Mars, which...
It's hypothetical. It's hypothetical.
Coming to occupy a spot in the terrestrial sky that looks a whole lot like it does today. Eventually, the new celestial body would have begun to solidify from its original...
Yeah, and so they think that that's what they found all over Earth. Oh boy. Hypothetical. Now this guy, John Napier. We'll look at, well, I'll pull it up and then look at the pictures. There he is. Was this guy for real? Nobody ever told me his, you know. He's best known as the discoverer of logarithms. He also invented the so-called Napier bones and made common use of the decimal point in arithmetic. This guy got his hand on the Bible there. What's the date on that? It's like 1616 to me. John Napier, the surveyor. Not much to show there. He is protected, got a screen or something around him there. He doesn't have his hand in his vest, that's for sure. So far so good. I don't know his gang signs. There's where he lived. They found that castle. That's where he's memorialized. This is the Napier bones, a set of rods. Thank goodness for the logarithm book. You didn't have to right angle, Napier circle in his mnemonics. So that was the first logarithm book, huh? Now this is what I do. This is like this. This is a logarithm book. Yeah, I was a surveyor, just like Thomas Jefferson and George Washington. The Lord leads us in mysterious ways, doesn't he? No records of early learning, and you believe he was there, but by 13 he was already going to college. That's the typical story. And then it burned down. Yeah, right. And a guy won a contest. Uh-huh. So Napier's bones. I think I wanted to look simply at logarithms, and then we'll move on. Okay. So you guys all know this. I talk about that all the time. That's what the word means in Revelation 20. It can only mean exactly 1,000. They know what that word means. They used it in Greece. They use it in Egypt. Everybody has a word for 1,000. They also have words for myriads and bunches and multitudes. But when they want it to be exact, it's got to be exact. So did he do it? You know, the videos about this time period are like the telephone, like the airplane. There were multiple people racing to do it. Did they copy each other? Did they define it? Why didn't they do it? Huh. Well, they really didn't talk too much about the history of it. Invention of the function now known as the natural logarithm. I don't want to get you bogged down in this, but suffice it to say, the reason I bring that up is it's a big deal that I was a surveyor, because like everything else in my life that is a mystery, I thought I was a jock because they told me I was a jock and my dad was going to make me into Rambo, you know, and I had to take math. Everybody has to pass Algebra 1. So I took it my first year in high school and didn't like the way it was being taught. They put me in with the dumb people and gave me books from the 1930s and that said it's for self-teaching math. And so I did it and turned in some papers and took my, you know, B- or something, and never took another math test until I was going to join the army, because the oil embargo, the hostages, the Iran crap that we live through now. I got caught up. My dad, his brothers were in the military. Later, my son, friends don't let friends join the military. They shouldn't let their relatives either. My son joined. I took a test and they said, well, you can be anything you want. I go, what do you mean? Choose your career, you know? And the guy that was the recruiter said, take it from me though, you want to be a surveyor. You don't do nothing. I'm like, But my dad was a Marine, so I had to be like, well, I want to be in the 82nd Airborne. That way I'll be like a surveyor and I'll be a, you know, jump out of airplanes, learn how to fight. I ended up working on the GPS. It was called the Parallel Azimuth Direction System at the time. I was what was called an 82 Charlie. That's what's called an MOS. They don't have it anymore. They don't need surveyors anymore. Nobody's learning survey or logarithm or anything like that. The Lord had me do it. And I guess that one class, and all of this is documented because I'm not Mark Sargent. I'm not making these things up. I'm not these guys. I'm the guy that had the vision. Yes, I was on mushrooms and it was clear. The stones are crying out. They're reserved in judgment. The mud flood was Armageddon. And now we got all kinds of people going like, well, we can't believe that guy was known, was from God because he did mushrooms and he smoked marijuana and he's talking about sacred herbs. And we got the clown guy that told us about the Nephilim, and he said, don't ever do any bad drugs. You suckers. And they're all suckers. And all I get is, gee whiz, maybe you're sad, maybe nobody's listening to you. You know that maybe some people, few more people are, but it's not It's not the numbers that the world is ever going to get. And if my friends have a problem with my theology and they are always telling me that I love that channel, I go to it, I watch it all the time, but it's not what I really. Did you tell them that the flood was Armageddon? That now we're moving on, we're questioning the Trinity? What is love? The Gunther. This is the guy that was friends with, he was a surveyor. Gunther's chain. When I learned surveying, it was with this. 100 of these makes, what is it, 30 meters? Still the same thing. Introduced in 1620 for surveying. How'd they do it without logarithm book? 100 chains. $25 links, 16 feet, 6 inches. Thus measures a rod. 10 chains are a furlong. So where did we get this system? Was it already there when they found the star forts and they said, well, this is what we've got that we can use if we want to match their dimensions? A word or two of the dimensurators or the measuring instruments, whereof the most usual has been the chain and the common length for English measures, 4 poles as answering indifferently to the English mile and acre. 10 such chains in length make a furlong, and 10 single square chains an acre, so that a chain mile contains 640 acres. And nothing's changed. When I did my water studies class last semester, that's everybody does, and then you get one portion of it would be 40 acres. One quarter of a section. A section is 40. You know who else I think they did it? I think these guys used it. The Hanseatic League. And there were, merchant guilds. Every town had, if you had a job, you were, the most holy order of artisans or merchants. Does it have a list of guilds? Worshipful company of tax advisors? Is that for the Lord or for their Freemasons? That they were comfortable with calling people grand masters, weren't they? The heads of the guild, you think they were embezzling like the mafia? I think so. British Guild meeting room, Shoemakers Guild. I'm going to slide down to the bottom real quick, don't get dizzy. See if how many guilds they have. That's there. The Hanseatic League. And so they had the guilds. Big time guild. Back to the Hanseatic League. So they were rich. Pretty sure. Look at that, 186 pictures. Now I do have to say, is this properly, is this the...
Hey, you folks. I'm at Washington Township Park here in Avon.
Yeah, Avon was good. I think I did look up Avon. What was this?
The Gnostic tradition offers us a...
No, anyway, this guy, somebody had one of the guys that, just does it for the money, but I think it was the Lunchbox guy. He talked about one of these buildings, and it was built and it had the signs of the Hanseatic League in the United States. And he showed how, they're everywhere in the world, and large ships. Of course. So there were things that they can't cover up, Poland. Oh, man. What I'm going to do is beg your indulgence while I look up and see if I can find that, because it was such a, and I'm the guy that's like, they just tired of seeing the buildings, they're all the same. This one was different. It was, and somehow it got me searching the Hanseatic League. So I think that you're going to like it. And I still feel fairly confident that I can find it and that I haven't been wasting your time. Ooh, the LiDAR, that was a good one. There's Johnny Gosh. Must be getting close. Oh, gee whiz, I forgot that I'm smoking. This was very interesting. Wheelbarrow, how they denial. So, oh, you can't see it. You're looking at me. All right, we're getting close. There's the logarithm. Who measured the sun? You know what? I'm going to pull this up. Don't pay attention to the music. And I'm going to pop this one up and then keep looking. Don't pay attention to the music. All right. That's going to be interesting because of how they make something a hit, how they pick a band to make it a hit. I know it. There it is.
Everything you know about the history
Love it.
of mankind.
Bucharest Palace. They say they built this in 1984. To me, what the Jared Booster has done is found another example, a recent example of the St. Petersburg lie of like, oh, nobody knew how to build it, but Peter the Great went to England and saw great buildings and he came back and said, we've got to build like Europe. So they built St. Petersburg. That's how all this started when the Russian propaganda, Philip Dzurinian, New Age with the ayahuasca girl, Sylvie, all about how Moscow could be, and Fomenko had to be the one to break it to us. It was a psyop.
Looking into this just to give you a little bit more information and also to try to figure out why we do not have construction photographs of this Palace of Parliament in Bucharest, as it is one of the largest buildings in the entire world and one of the greatest examples of architecture in the last 100 years. So let's get right into this history. And right off the bat, I will let you know that there is apparently in the current narrative, so take it all with a grain of salt, but there is a reason that we do not have construction photographs. And there's also many reasons why we don't have photographs of this palace in general. The Palace of Parliament, also known as the House.
We got to sample it.
Now, we're told that this building was designed by one Anca Petrescu, and she had a degree that was obtained in Bucharest, of all places, in 1973. And
the girl who won this contest? got her degree in 1973 and built this in 1984, in 85 and 86.
Upon graduation, she was immediately involved, we're told in this narrative, and it seems like plausible deniability, but she was involved in the demolishing of Old World Bucharest, or the old city of Bucharest. And then at age 28, she apparently won the contest with no experience, no architectural background,
Here you
for
go.
one of the largest buildings in the history of mankind, the largest building to have been created in the old world style in the last 100 years. Keep the name of this young lady architect, Anka Petrescu, in mind, because she will come up later in the narrative, and it's honestly so fascinating. It's also what appears to be a facet of plausible deniability, or just something that's been written into the narrative, a piece of the history that doesn't exactly make sense, but it helps to gloss over other facets of
Right. And it's weird.
castle-like structure here for hundreds, if not thousands of years before, after this castle-like structure or these different castle narrative.
It's just
were
too
given
much.
that the government of
Romania.
relocated these individuals. But again, when we look at firsthand accounts from this time period, when this process was actually taking place, it appears that many were left homeless. Now, in the construction of the Palace of Parliament in Bucharest, we're told upwards of 100,000 workers were used at this time. However, what's not often brought into the limelight is that a large portion of these workers were prisoners. And many of these prisoners, things within this narrative, because to me, as an educated mind, again, I'm not saying I'm a master of anything, and I certainly don't know exactly how the Palace of Parliament was founded. Palace of Parliament is the only building on our planet that exceeds the volume of the Great Pyramid of Giza. And we're also told that the Palace of Parliament is so massive, so heavy, that the entire building sinks into the earth over 1/4 of an inch every single year. Now, that is all fine and dandy. And again, I have so many facts that I wrote down here.
But why can't they show pictures?
We don't have construction photographs, not only because of the fall of communism in Romania, when a lot of the photographs, materials, things like that, they transferred hands. So we're told that many of the construction photographs, if they did exist, they went into private collections and they were destroyed, they were lost, they were misplaced, etc. Again, we have a similar narrative to that in many other historical outlines, timelines that we look into. But the real doozy here with the Palace of Parliament in Bucharest in Romania is that Anka Petrescu, this architect, the 28-year-old that I told you about earlier, we are told that as soon as the building was completed, she sued the government of Romania. She sued the people who hired her to create the Palace of Parliament, stating that they could not use the image of the Palace of Parliament without her consent.
And they won. Now, how do they do it? They take a band that makes an album, Lilywood and the Prick, and this is a song from it.
Yeah, you never said a word, you didn't send me no letter. Don't think I could forgive you. See, our word is slowly dying, I'm not wasting no more time. Don't think I could believe you.
Yeah, that's, made her feel good. She wrote that song. It wasn't a hit. You needed Robin Schultz. And You needed propaganda because you need the world is slowly dying and they're just into it. Isn't it fun to be, just out there?
Yeah, you never said a word, you didn't send me no letter. Don't think I could forgive you. See, our word is slowly dying, I'm not wasting no more time. Don't think I could believe you.
Well, you get it. So that's how they do it. That's how they do it. He did a little thing about Avalon. I looked it up. Indiana's weird. It's going to take its own show, but we do have their version of things always ready to go.
Radical inversion of apocalyptic thought. The end of the world, not as catastrophe, but as liberation. Emerging in the 2nd to 4th century CE and rediscovered in the Nag Hammadi texts of 1945, these diverse spiritual
The Nag Hammadi, what else came out there? Dead Sea Scrolls, all of the apocryphal books, the Ethiopian Bible that had Enoch in it, and they all had a different thing, and it's all from a time that didn't exist. There was no 2nd century BC. There was no continuation of the status quo. Oh, Jerusalem got destroyed. Armageddon, I guess. Worldwide event. All of this is a lie. Get people to believe it today of like, what if they keep my favorite book out of the Bible?
movements shared a compelling premise that our material reality is not a divine creation to be celebrated, but a cosmic prison from which the enlightened must escape. In the Gnostic worldview, a perfect divine realm, the pleroma, stands in opposition to our corrupt material world, created not by the true God, but by the flawed demiurge. Within humans resides a divine spark, a fragment of truth.
No, it doesn't. So I had logarithms pulled up for later, I guess. There's some pictures of the logarithms. Not too many. The indices of the ratios of numbers to one another being a series of numbers in arithmetical programmed fashion corresponding to each other in geometrical progression by means of which arithmetical calculations can be made with much more safe and expediation than otherwise. Yeah, man. Slide rules too. Not as accurate, but fast. Who wants to do logarithms now? Oh, God's into it. Huh. America's declining birth rate. Look at that. We thought it was bad, and it was. They pumped it up for a while. Let's go to war. And no. But the guy who did Twitter, any girl, even if it's artificial insemination, he's paying, he's going to give him $100 million. He's already had more than 40 million, and he's promising them all money. He needs a legion of smart people. Huh. Weird. Look at that. Wonder how can a world not have any information of how many people were in the Union in 1982? How is that even possible? Now, I could show some more stones or I could show some pictures, but it's been an hour and 30 and I just don't have it in me. So forgive me, and we will get to the stones because I'm all about the stones. I got the light, I got the chemicals, I got the thing. God said that he takes his people, and that refining fire is compared to smelting silver and gold. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for those. Thank you so much. It is a flat earth nation. The golden age is past. The mud flood was Armageddon. Then there was that 1,000 years. Now your overtrained brain is going insane in the membrane. You know that. Come on. Me and my friends are never going to tell you anything else because we are called, chosen, and being faithful to having your best interest at heart. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arriba, Dirty. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakame. Adios. It's how I like to say goodbye.